Not likely.
No halftime shows, no clothing endorsements?
Probably not.
But singing about executing someone's child because they cooperated with the police doesn't bother anyone?
Apparently not. I think people actually respect that I rap about the issues.
No, they don't. That's not it at all. You aren't singing songs to create awareness of the troubles in our nation. You're making money off of glorying in violence and pain. And that's okay because you say you don't know any better. The thing that bothers me is that you are paid to perpetuate an image that much of America already believes about, black males anyway. I mean, a lot of people already believe that black men are innately wild, lustful, materialistic, corrupt, and violent. Did you ever wonder if you're just a handsomely paid promoter for those stereotypes?
Maybe, but that doesn't bother me, though. That is part of the reason a lot of us in this industry act the way we act and say the things we say. We do it because that is what people already expect from us. We are playing into people's misconceptions and actually getting rich off of it. It's like we turned the tables on the situation and made it work for us instead of against us. So yeah, we buy cars and jewelry, we drink and party, we talk about violence and drugs, because that is all that is expected of us anyway.
Oh, I know the story. I heard it from deceased rapper. I do this or that because that's what, quote, we do.
Exactly. That's just the way it is. It's the way America wants it.
Fascinating. I can see that you know your lines in this American drama very well. But have you ever paused to ask yourself who wrote the script for you? The fact that you know your place in American culture and that people will pay you to make your contribution to society is admirable. I'm sure that many people find it beneficial that you go along so willingly. My question is whether or not you ever stop to think about the lines you are saying or who has a vested interest in your eagerness to say them.
Not really.
This whole thing reminds me of a German children's book from the 1930s called Der Gift Pills. The premise of the story is how important it is to distinguish edible mushrooms for poisonous ones. In the context of the book, Jews were considered poisonous mushrooms that should be avoided. The book goes on to describe Jews as dangerous to German society, money-hungry, sexually deviant, etc. The Nazis used this children's book to sow seeds about Jewish corruptness into the minds of German youth for many years.
That's messed up.
I know, right? The issue is that I think in America has outdone the Nazis when it comes to modern-day propaganda about blacks. No white man could get on mainstream radio and television or go into schools or colleges and call black people poisonous mushrooms. No mainstream media outlet could ever say that black men and women are sex-crazed, materialistic, prone to violence, etc. They would be crucified. But they don't have to say it. You know why? Because someone has convinced the mushrooms to say it about themselves. The coup about the whole thing is that whenever you challenge artists about the seeds they are sowing, they vigorously defend their right to paint themselves as poisonous. It's really sad.
No one makes me sing anything about anything. I don't have to defend myself at all. I rap about what I know, my real life, my real history, the way I live.
Except for the parts about dealing drugs and using guns. That part isn't real, right?
Correct, and I have gotten rich from the music. The one who benefits from me saying what I say is me and my family. It's the same with a lot of other rappers, too. I think that is why rap is so commonly attacked. It is a vehicle for black prosperity. A lot of black people are making more money than ever. I guess that upsets some people.
I see. So rap has helped a lot of black people advance economically.
That's right.
There are nearly 40 million black people in America. Can you tell me how many of them have gotten rich from rap music?
I have no idea. Lots?
Well, there has to be a number. 1,000, 100,000. Whatever the number, I bet that far more folks go into debt pretending they live like you than ever actually make any real money from rap or any other kind of music.
I'm not just talking about people making money in the music industry, but people that are inspired by our success.
I hear you, but I think you may have been gone from your old neighborhood too long to know what is really happening. You may have lost touch.
How so? I can go into...
Go ahead, sorry. No, you go.
I can go into almost any neighborhood in this country and be loved.
No, that's not what I mean. I mean that you may have a false sense of how your music has inspired people. Let's take, for example, your trial a few years back on gun charges. You had a prior felony. You were caught with a gun in the car that wasn't yours, correct?
That's right, so?
Well, I saw a picture of you in court, and it looked like you had an army of powerful lawyers with you. How much did it cost you to defend yourself in that case?
A lot.
$500,000, $1 million?
In that ballpark.
Well, a few years ago, I worked with a young man, this is in our church, in almost the exact same situation. He was 18 years old. The only difference was that his lawyer only cost $5,000. His parents went into debt to hire his attorney. That kid got 10 years in prison. You only got 6 months, right?
So what is your point? That has nothing to do with me.
My point is that I don't want you to think that all of the people you inspire are doing well. That kid dressed like you, talked like you, listened to incessantly to your music. He was even arrested just like you for the exact same charge. He didn't end up like you, though. He ended up like most black kids in that same situation. Your case is an exception. His case is more in line with the rule.
Again, that has nothing to do with me or my music. Besides, music is just words and sounds. My videos are just pictures that move. They have no power. They don't influence anyone to do anything. Words, sounds, and pictures never hurt anyone.
I don't think you're being honest there. Of course words, sounds, and pictures influence people. Why do you think companies spend millions of dollars for a 30-second ad during the Super Bowl? They count on those words, sounds, and images to influence people. Why do you think that every psychologist tells parents to be careful about the way they speak to their children? Are you telling me that none of your fans have written you and said your music inspired them? Music has always inspired people's moods and actions. It can stir romance, sorrow, anger, and passion. Why do you think that Olympic athlete says he listens to your music before he competes? He says those words hype him up.
Yeah, but I don't see Olympic athlete going out to shoot people.
No, you don't. Keep in mind, though, that to him you are just a performer. Nothing you talk about is real to him because he doesn't come from where you come from. Isn't that what you just told me? That's what's interesting. This white athlete is spending money to hear you talk about violence towards other blacks about denigrating black women because it puts him in the mood to compete. Do you realize how twisted that is?
The bottom line is that I speak from the heart. Nothing is fake about what I say, and no one gave me the lines to say. I've made my own way in America, and I did it the only way a guy like me can do it. I make no apologies for what I did to get where I am. Where I came from is what made me who I am today.
You reference where you came from a lot. How much of a factor do you really think that is? I'm sure there are lots of people from your neighborhood that didn't sell drugs, use drugs, rob people, etc.
I can't speak for other people. I can only speak about the hell I personally experienced.
Do you still consider yourself to be living in hell?
No, my life is far from hell. It took a lot of hard work to make it that way.
So when it comes to your kids, do you teach them more about the life you used to live or more about the life you live now?
My kids have no clue about the life I used to live. They've got it good.
So if your son sang the same lyrics that you sing, it would be an act. It wouldn't be real.
Not at all.
That's something that also fascinates me. I know from watching your show that you have a teenage daughter. Do you let her listen to your music?
I'm sure she has heard it. Kids can find almost everything nowadays.
How do you think she feels about the way women are talked about in a lot of rap music? One of your label mates, Artist Name, has a lyric that comes to mind. It's Artist Name in the mother expletive house with my big fat expletive for your mother expletive mouth. When he wrote that lyric, do you think he had your daughter in mind or someone else's?
Well, my daughter's only 13, so I hope he wasn't thinking about her. I don't think he had anyone's daughter in mind. It's just something to sing about.
Interesting. So this is another one of those things that rappers talk about that doesn't really happen.
I wouldn't say that. There are always a lot of women around. A lot of stuff goes on.
Well, one of your songs talks about taking a woman for a ride in your Bentley. In the song, you decide to kick her out of the car because she didn't perform a certain sex act for you. I believe you used the phrase, put her on foot patrol. Do you train your daughter to live by those same rules? Does she understand that acceptance from men like her father is predicated on sex?
My daughter would never be in that situation to begin with. She won't need to ride in anyone's car, so she wouldn't have that problem.
So again, it may be something that another man's daughter has to deal with, but not yours. When you refer to women in bees and hoes in your music, is it safe to assume that you are always thinking about other people's sisters, daughters, and mothers instead of your own?
I certainly don't have any of my people in mind when I write it. Sometimes those particular words are actually terms of endearment, though. Other times they are not. I want to clarify here that not all women are deserving of those titles. Some women are. There are some women that act like B's and H's when women will even refer to themselves that way sometimes.
Well, I don't think that citing a few soul-poisoned women that label them, that accept those labels in the context you use them absolves you. The fact that some women don't understand how demeaning your content can be is not a valid excuse.
I agree when you speak about women in general, but some women deserve those labels. There are some women that just don't respect themselves and will do anything for money to be with a certain person. A lot of those women are in the inner circles of our industry. There are even some women I refer to as second generation B and H. Their mothers raised them to be that way.
As a man, particularly a father, doesn't something inside you say that above all, those women need to be pitied instead of taken advantage of and mocked? Just because a girl has been taught to offer sex in exchange for acceptance and affection doesn't mean a man should accept it. Isn't self-control part of what distinguishes a man from a male? What if one of those women was your daughter?
I have told you that it won't be. I know this because I have raised her better than that.
So you're telling me that despite where you came from and how much where you came from shapes the content of your music, you've learned enough along the way to give your children better ideas and morals than you had.
Definitely.
But somehow your growth over the years has affected the way you relate to your family, but not the content of your art. You are far enough away from your past to know what to teach your kids, but not far away from it to change what you rap about. Do I have it right? I'm not sure why your kids don't have to feed on the poison, but other kids do. How much longer until your fans get the benefit from your growth?
I don't think anything about other people's kids. That is not my responsibility. Parents need to raise their own children. I don't think that any rapper or entertainer should have to be a good influence in kids' lives. That is the parents' job.
You are correct, but I think you have it backwards. I don't think parents are asking you to be a good influence in their children's lives. I think they're asking you to stop being a bad influence.
I don't know why we're discussing kids anyway. My music is not made for kids. I see parents bring little kids to my shows and I am like, expletive, what is wrong with you? You should have to be adults to be able to listen to my music. The stuff me and a lot of other artists sing about is definitely not for children.
I'm not sure that age matters. When your daughter turns 18, will she cease to be your daughter? Will you stop caring for her as a father? Do you think that she should go ahead and get her mouth ready for rappers like Artist Name? If not at 18, then at what age? I just think it will be helpful for fans to know at what age your daughter should begin to equivocate sex with male acceptance in her life.
I don't know, hopefully never.
Interesting, I hope so too. I hope that for all of our daughters. My hope is that no man ever speaks to or about any of our daughters the way you do in your music.
Uh-huh.
I have one final idea that I want to throw out to you before we wrap up. A very famous human rights advocate made a statement some years ago that I found interesting. He commented on some black youths he observed engaging in some destructive behavior. I'm not sure of the specifics of the incident that prompted his comments, but I know he very often expressed frustration about things like violence, drug use, mistreatment of black women, etc. His response to what he observed was fascinating. In short, he stated that the only way he refrained from getting upset at the young men was to channel his anger towards what he called the puppeteers instead of the puppets. Are you familiar with that concept?
No, and I don't understand how it applies to this discussion.
Well, it's simple, really. Based on the way you describe your past, I will stipulate that you were born in America's sewer and nourished by its societal feces. I will even go so far as to say that because of this, you may not have the ability to see what's wrong with some of the content of your music. I strongly suspect, however, that the people that run the companies that retail, broadcast, and endorse your music didn't come from your same background. At the highest level, I'm sure most of them don't know anyone who has shot someone or was shot by someone because they talked to the police.
What is your point?
My point is that you have admitted to me that you have a damaged sense about why certain content is appropriate for sober-minded people to consider art. You have repeatedly linked this damage to your background. I think I can accept that and give you a pass based on the possibility that you really don't understand what is wrong with some of your lyrics. The issue I have is that I think the CEOs of the companies that deliver your music to the masses do understand how damaging some of your content is, but they just don't care.
So?
Well, I think those people know that some things that you say are highly inappropriate. I think they wouldn't want their sons saying those things. I think they wouldn't want their daughters in your videos or in the VIP section of whatever nightclub you're visiting next. You don't even want your own daughter there, right? I believe they know how blind you are and how much toxicity there is in some of your music. To me, though, the fact that they are willing to make money off your blindness makes them guiltier than you. In my mind, the fact that they give you large sums of money for vocalizing your blindness makes you their puppet, so to speak.
I can assure you right here and now that I am no one's puppet. I make the music I want and nobody tells me what to say. If I want to call a woman B, H, or any other expletive, I will do it. If I want to talk about shooting black people, white people, or anybody else, I will do it. I don't care how it reflects on me or anyone else. My life is very simple. I'll provide for me and mine by any means necessary.
Well, I sense that you're getting upset, and I don't mean to offend you. Nevertheless, if what you just said doesn't fully embody the mindset of a puppet, I don't know what does. That's not a bad thing, though. I don't want you to feel insulted. It's better for America to think of you as a puppet in this industry rather than the one pulling the strings.
Why is that?
Because if we thought you knew how inappropriate and destructive some of your content is, then we may have to hold you accountable for it. And I don't think anyone in America wants to do that.